Right, I'm going to talk very, very slowly. So hello everyone, and thanks for tuning in to today's video. I've had around 10 goes at trying to get that out and haven't been able to do it, so I thought I'd start differently this morning. Hello everyone, and thanks for tuning in to today's video. So we're going to have a look at the JMA model for the next month. For today's video, it's the 1st of June today, so it's the first day of meteorological summer as well as being the first day of the month. We'll have the stats in for spring very shortly, so we'll be able to evaluate the spring forecast sometime next week. But first day of summer, meteorologically anyway, it's always really quite questionable, really, when it comes to the weather itself, because as we know, for several weeks now, it's been really warm. So actually, we've had summer weather preceding the summer, and of course, this can happen in the autumn as well. You can go on with summer weather beyond the official end of the summer too. But it's always useful to have a defined period when you are sort of divvying up the statistics, and the defined period for summer is the first day of June to the last day of August. So therefore we are in official statistical meteorological summer. So, we're going to see what the JMA and CFS V2 models have got to say in terms of the weather for the month ahead in a moment. This isn't the Gazobis month ahead forecast. That's going to be released. I'm hoping to bring it sometime over the weekend, but it just depends how quickly we get the climate averages update at UK Met Office, because I want to evaluate the May month ahead forecast sort of first of all, so that takes a little while, or it can take a day or two to get those through. So it'll be sometime, the Gazobis June forecast will be sometime in the next few days. But we have got Terry Scully's June forecast coming up. That will be with you around 7 o'clock this evening. I think that's going to be quite an interesting read, to say the least. Oh, and also to say that later on we're going to start the countdown to Le Mans 2018 for the Piston Heads community. They've asked us to have a look at the weather for their annual trip to Le Mans, so that will be starting at Gazobis sometime later this afternoon or this evening. But kicking it all off, it is JMA Friday. So we'll do our month ahead look at. We're going to begin with the 500 millibar height anomalies from the Japanese Meteorological Agency. These are broken down into weekly periods. The first weekly period will take us from today, the 1st, through to the 8th of June. So the first week of June, essentially. Red is extrapolating to high pressure and blue to low pressure. So we see that we've got this area of above average height centered over and just a little bit to the north of the country in the week ahead, with below average heights out over northeastern Europe and also out in the Atlantic as well. This leaves us doing something rather like that, but flowing with the jet. So on the warm side of the jet, but we do have to watch out for this trough of low pressure down here and also this low pressure down here, because they could both be kind of threatening more unsettled conditions and maybe thunderstorms at times to the south. But essentially it is that high pressure that is in control of the weather that we see there almost over the top of the country. So with that ridge centre there, we're bringing in a lot of very warm east or southeasterly winds. We go through to week 2, which is like the second week of June. This takes us from the 8th through to the 15th of June. And we find that we've got a deep area of below average height centred over Scandinavia, with near normal heights elsewhere, but this implies probably still some ridging out here. So it's a bit of a messy, complicated type picture. I'm not sure where the jet stream is really with that, but we could be pulling in some cooler air from the west northwesterly direction, I would have thought, in that week. And then we go through to weeks 3 and 4, which takes us from the 15th through to the 29th of June, with below average heights to the northeast. Otherwise, not a lot else going on. I think the jet stream probably is coming a bit further south though, so it might be turning a little bit cooler and a little bit more unsettled through the second half of June. But not a very unsettled period by any means. We don't have a trough centred over top of the country, but I think it implies that we probably are shifting the jet stream a bit further south and turning things a little bit cooler and a little bit more unsettled after this very warm and dry first week to the month. Excuse me, these are how the temperature and precipitation anomalies are shaping up for the next month. This is the tropical and mid-latitude view. British Isles is in the top right-hand corner of the chart as you are looking at it. A reminder of the week 1 500 millibar height anomaly, taking us from the 3rd through to the 8th of June with above average heights. Again, it's almost centred over top of the country, so you'll expect a lot of dry and warm weather with that. So temperature anomalies are coming out significantly warmer than average in the weekend. It's going to be very warm start to June, not just for the UK, but for much of Europe included as well. And as far as the rainfall anomaly is looking for the next week, coming out drier than average. So a very nice start to the month and a very nice start to summer with warmer and drier than average conditions persisting. Then we go through to week 2. Now remember, you can't see Scandinavia and the northern latitudes on this particular view, so we know that we have got this trough up to the north and the northeast. Otherwise there wasn't a lot else going on. Now the temperature anomaly is still generally coming out a little bit warmer than average, but it has lowered quite considerably compared to sort of week 1. So that's how it's looking, and it's sort of in that near normal range to a little bit above average, whereas week 1 is in that +1 to +2 Celsius range as the anomaly. So obviously the temperature has lowered, but still generally a little bit on the milder than average side, albeit slightly cooler. And as far as precipitation is concerned, almost still drier than average, a little bit more unsettled again, particularly for western parts of the country, but overall not too far from average. It does imply a more unsettled week though, because week 1 is significantly warmer and drier than average, and week 2 is all round much closer to average, albeit still a little bit drier and a little bit warmer than average, but it's closer to average, which tells us it's a more unsettled, more changeable week overall. And then we go through to weeks 3 and 4. Again, quite strange weather patterns, but it did look as though the jet stream might be starting to move southwards a little bit. We also have a fairly deep trough to our northeast over Scandinavia from the 15th through to the 29th of June. Temperature anomaly still holding up a little bit above average, so nothing too bad coming up as far as the temperature is concerned. Not as warm as it is in the first week of June, but even so, still a bit above average. As far as precipitation is concerned, that's coming out rather more unsettled for the north particularly, so a little bit wetter than average actually for northern and western parts of the country. In the south and the southeast, it is still a bit drier than average, but it does imply, I think, as we're going along here, it looks like the JMA wants to turn things very gradually more unsettled, albeit it isn't seeing a collapse of the summer at this stage, but it is implying that as we get deeper into June, we do turn things, particularly for the north and the west, more unsettled and probably a little bit cooler as well. Let's have a CFS is shaping up then. So again, these are 500 millibar heights. They're broken down into week periods. The first week period takes us from the 31st of May through to the 6th of June. The coming week finds that we've got above average heights centering over and just to the north of the country, with below average heights down to our south. With the flow and with the jet stream, we're doing something rather like that. So again, a lot of very warm and dry weather in the week ahead. Watch out for this low pressure over Iberia, threatening thunderstorms, particularly to southern parts of the country, but essentially high pressure dominates. Go through to week 2, this is the 7th through to the 13th of June, with high pressure still in control, above average heights still sitting just to our north and northeast. The below average heights are weakening down to the south, so again you'll expect a lot of very warm and even drier weather through this week going up to the middle part of June. Then we get through to week 3, which looks like that. It's the 14th through to the 20th of June, with above average heights still to our northeast, but they are weakening somewhat. Below average heights are really gathering down to the south. I think this one could be turning very thundery. That could be a really thundery outbreak that's pushing up from the south, with this area of low pressure moving northwards out of Spain through the Bay of Biscay as this ridge is starting to weaken. So that one looks more unsettled and potentially very thundery for southern parts of the country the 3rd week of June. And then we go through to the final week of June, final full week of June, which is the 21st through to the 27th of June. And a bit of a change again, so above average heights then out to our southwest. Also drifting back into eastern parts of Europe just there, with below average heights around Greenland and Iceland, probably setting up a little bit more of an Atlantic flow there. So that could be a little bit of a return of the westerlies, albeit with the high pressure just to our southwest. It wouldn't be particularly unsettled. Most unsettled conditions would be in the north and the west, but all parts will be a little bit more changeable after that thundery breakdown that occurs in week 3, and probably a little bit cooler as well as the air begins to drift in from off the Atlantic Ocean. So, temperature anomalies for the week ahead are coming out very, very warm indeed. Substantially warmer than average temperature anomalies for the UK and for the vast majority of Europe as well. If one place is warm though, another place will be cold, and all the cold air at the moment is going into Russia. So it's a really cold scene, or cooler than average scene, across much of Russia at this stage, and also down across Spain and Portugal. Their temperature anomalies continue to be very poor, really, and down to North Africa as well. So it's not warm all the way. Some places have got cooler than average temperature anomalies, but not the UK, not much of Europe. We're warmer than average in the week ahead, and substantially so. And that continues into week 2 as well, the 7th through to the 13th of June, again coming out significantly warmer than average for the UK and for much of Europe too. Week 3, temperature anomaly comes out warmer than average also. Remember, this is one that looks a little bit thundery, so we'll have a look at the rainfall prediction in a moment to see whether that has the idea of thunder through week 3. And then week 4 rounds it all off, and it is still warmer than average, even in week 4 I should say. Rounds it all off, it is still warmer than average, but I think we're bringing in a little bit more of an Atlantic flow there, so the temperature anomaly, although still generally a bit warmer than average, is lowering. Overall though, this is a very warm June indeed, if the CFS V2 is correct. Precipitation anomalies finally, so week 1 precipitation going from the 31st of May through to 6th of June. That's coming out significantly drier than average for the north, but a bit wetter than average down to the south. That's implying thunder threatening from southern Europe. We go through to week 2, and again we're looking like that. So the north is coming out a little bit drier than average. Elsewhere, the normal precipitation in week 2. Week 3 looks like that, and no real sign of thunder at that stage. It is wetter than average down across Spain and Portugal. So perhaps not as much precipitation as I would have expected if we are having a very thundery week there in week 3 from the 14th to 20th. Although bear in mind, the model does lose a signal generally as you go through to weeks 3 and 4. Look how much stronger the signals are in week 1 for precipitation generally across this map compared to the signals for week 3. And then finally we go through to week 4. The final week of June looks like that. And again, near normal precipitation. Probably, again, just the signal is weakening off there in week 4. So not a particularly strong signal for rainfall. So what do we know from this update? It looks like it's going to be a warm June, to say the least. It's starting off very warm in the week ahead, and temperature anomalies are generally staying up above average with both of these models throughout the month, albeit it does imply, they both imply, that the further on we get, particularly get through to the latter part of June, we may well start to turn things cooler, but still probably warmer than average in the south and the east, and a little bit cooler for the north and the west. As far as rainfall is concerned, a lot of dry weather being suggested, although there is still the idea within both of the models that there could be rainfall at times, most likely from Atlantic systems in the north and the west, but in the south most likely from thunder. So overall, a pretty decent June is shaping up here. Nice start to summer, if the JMA Friday is correct this week. Of course, that's always the caveat, because these long-range models are prone to chopping and changing, so it could all look very, very different next week. It's just a snapshot of what they're showing today. Right, so that's JMA Friday done. Later on, as I say, we'll have a look at what's happening for Le Mans, or what might be happening for Le Mans, for the Piston Heads community, and also Terry Scholars' June forecast will be with you this evening, so come back, have a look at that. Tomorrow I've got the weekend forecast. There'll be plenty of updates coming up over the weekend at the website, but that's all for now, and thanks for watching.